Good afternoon, Adirondack families. Thank you for joining us this evening. This evening I'm going to go over our reopening summary plan. We will also have another parent, guardian, community meeting on Tuesday, August 18th at 10 a.m. We tried to space them out. Had one at 2, one at 6 this evening, and one on Tuesday at 10. After the overview, I'll answer the questions that have been submitted to us. Thank you very much for your questions. We've responded to those who have submitted questions thus far. So if you send in questions to ACS Reopening at adirondackcsd.org, in the next few weeks we'll continue to respond to your questions. We try to get that turnaround within one day. So if you continue to have the questions, please send them our way and we'll get back to you. So that is what we've been doing for the past week or so since the that site has been up. Earlier this afternoon I sent out a school messenger and a commitment form for the returning of school, so you'll be getting that. We had a little technology glitch there when it went out, so if you received it and you couldn't click that on, we did put it on our webpage and Facebook page, and we'll also see about getting it on again. But when it worked, and then when we sent it out, it didn't work in the attachment there, but we put it on the webpage and the Facebook page, so you'll have that. But that's what happens with technology sometimes. What I want to start with this evening is our reopening summary. So on July 31st, we had to submit the plan to the State Ed and Department of Health, and so that's been posted. And then today we had updated some additional information that was required as of last Friday in regards to remote learning and tracing. And so that was put up this afternoon. So if you go on our reopening section on our webpage, you'll find all that information. So please check that out. We'll also put stuff on our Facebook page. So check that out for updated information. This evening, what I'm going to do is go over our topics that were submitted in the plan. There's also previous videos from our meeting. So at the board meeting, we had a review earlier today at 2 o'clock, then this evening, and then next Tuesday at 10. So please check those out. The one last night was a little bit lengthier, so you can check that one out. It's just I want to save time for the questions that have been submitted so I can share them with you this evening. The reopening topics that were discussed: health and safety, facility management, transportation, child nutrition, digital equity and access, teaching and learning, social and emotional support, athletics and extracurricular activities, communication, and next steps. The first one we're going to review is health and safety. So I think as I go through this, many questions will be answered, but maybe I'll point out a couple as I go, but then when I finish, then I'll go through the questions that were submitted to that website. But you'll have many questions answered as I go through this overview, but then I will go through questions that were submitted. And again, those questions were personally responded to. If you sent one later this afternoon, we probably didn't get to them yet. So, if they're not answered right away, we will get to them, like I said, within a day. So maybe there was some submitted this afternoon and we haven't personally gotten back to you. But everyone who submits a question or questions, you'll receive an email back answering your questions. So please remember that. The cleanliness of all of our buildings will be the forefront of what we do every day. We'll provide a clean environment throughout the school buildings and on our buses. Daily reminders will include signage and verbal announcements. Hand washing, hand sanitizers. Students and staff will be reminded and encouraged to wash their hands often, specifically when they enter the school building, using restrooms, and before and after lunch. Hand sanitizer will be placed in all classrooms and common areas for use. And we've had our hand sanitizer solutions in our classrooms for a number of years, so we've already been used to that. Social distancing, the district is making every effort to make sure that we maintain our social distancing of 6 feet. Masks must be worn by students and staff when 6 feet social distancing cannot be met, and there will be mask breaks during lunch and in classroom where social distancing can be maintained. Training will take place for our staff and students. This will include videos for teachers and students to view. In addition, we will continue to provide information on our website. All students and staff will be provided with cloth masks. We will also have additional face masks available should individuals need them. So some of the training to take place for teachers and faculty and staff and students include hand washing, effective use of face masks, how to clean and sanitize surfaces, COVID-19 symptoms. So students, faculty, staff will be receiving the training via videos. We'll also post videos for your use or review at home, so we'll also have that on our website. Personal protective equipment, again, will be provided to our students, a mask. Each student will be receiving 2 masks, and the faculty will also be receiving masks, washable masks. Accommodation for high-risk population will be addressed on a case-by-case basis and may require a physician's note. Please contact the building administrator to address these specific situations, and we will help with that. Parent Square is a safe school-to-home communication app that allows two-way communication between teachers and families. We will conduct daily COVID screening questions that will be submitted through Parent Square. Reminders for symptoms to be aware of if your child appears to be sick. As a secondary measure, we will also be checking temperatures at school. However, the first line of defense is checking temperatures before students leave from home. So daily screening at home would include taking your child's temperature, submit screening survey via Parent Square, a new app which we're working with the vendor now, and that will be rolling out in the next couple weeks. And if you have issues with connectivity with internet, we can also provide a hard copy for you to complete. And some of the things: do not send your child to school if they have symptoms such as a fever greater than 100 degrees, cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle, body aches, new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion, runny nose, nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. And screening at school, all students and visitors will have their temperature checked upon arrival at school. Questions that probably look familiar to you: we'll conduct daily COVID screening via the 4 or 5 questionnaire that will be submitted through Parent Square. Information about Parent Square will be available, as I mentioned, in the coming weeks, and that'll be a new form of communication between home and school with letters, memos, forms. So once parents sign up for that, when we have it up and running, it'll be a great communication tool. So the questions that you're probably familiar with in your when you're out, either people ask these questions or you see the questionnaire. Have you knowingly been in close proximate contact over the last 14 days with anyone who has tested positive through a diagnostic test for COVID-19 or exhibited symptoms? Have you tested positive through a diagnostic test for COVID-19? Have you experienced any symptoms of COVID-19, including a temperature greater than 100 degrees Fahrenheit in the last 14 days? Have you traveled internationally or from a state with a widespread community transmission of COVID-19 per the New York State advisory in the past 14 days? And ultimately, do you have a temperature of 100 degrees Fahrenheit or greater? That would be in the questionnaire in the app. And if you say no to all of those questions, then faculty, staff, and students would be allowed to come to school. On our website, we'll provide additional information. We'll follow the CDC and Department of Health guidelines. So what if someone has COVID symptoms? They'll report to the nurse's office for assessment. Parent and guardian will be contacted, and symptomatic students will be sent home. What if someone at school tests positive? Department of Health will be called, the school to notify us, and Department of Health will also direct the district on how to proceed. When can someone who tested positive come back? The district will follow guidelines from the Department of Health. These detailed informational facts will be posted on our website, so it's step by step in greater detail. I'm giving you an overview, plus I'll also share a little flow chart this evening in regards to COVID. When can a child return to school? So in the 4 things that I just read in the questionnaire, So it's down in the bottom of the box there. So positive screen includes. So did you answer yes to one of those questions? So if you look on the left side of the graph, student sees a provider. So the student or staff member sees a provider. Student tests positive for COVID-19. On the left side, student may return, follow Department of Health guidelines, which may include 10 days since symptoms began. Student has been fever-free for 3 days without the use of fever-reducing medication. It has been 3 days since student's symptoms began, including cough and shortness of breath. Student tests negative for COVID-19 per MD, note, or testing. Student may return. Student has been fever-free for 24 hours without use of fever-reducing medication, and provider note is given to the nurse. Student does not see a provider. Student may return 10 days since symptoms began, and student has been fever-free for 3 days without fever-reducing medication, and it has been 3 days since student symptoms began, including cough and shortness of breath. And again, we just posted this afternoon detailed information on the tracing and steps, and also locations where testing can be done. Testing does not happen at school. Facility maintenance. As mentioned, the district will be cleaning our buildings throughout the day and at night. Detailed attention will be focused on high touch frequency areas. Our filtration system meets the requirements for air. We will continue to monitor this every day. So the district has an enhanced detailed cleaning schedule with special attention to frequently touched areas such as door handles, railings, drinking coolers, hand washing faucets. Most of our drinking fountains are the bottle-free filler stations, and we have replaced those. I think we only have 2 more in the district. If we do have the regular drinking fountain, those will be closed and are replaced with the bottle filler drinking stations. I think we had a couple more we had to replace in the district. So the other ones will not be used if it's the regular drinking fountain. Air filtration, the code require 10% outside air will be maintained and exceeded when possible. And plastic barriers, any use of plastic separators would comply with the 2020 BCNY Section 206 requirements. Throughout the buildings, there will be signage and reminders for all of us to see. We will limit the number of visitors to our buildings. Excuse me. If you need to come in the building, prior arrangements will need to be made. We want a safe environment for all of our students and staff. Excuse me. Signage. Building will be clearly marked for entrance and exit, hand washing reminders, and social distancing guidelines. So that'll be a reminder for our students and staff throughout the building, and also announcements. Visitors, per CDC guidelines, all visitors will be required to complete a brief questionnaire and have their temperature taken prior to enter the building. In regards to transportation, it is extremely important that parents and guardians take their child's temperature before they come to school, whether you're driving them or they're riding a bus. In regards to transportation, buses will be disinfected after each bus run. We need to limit the number of options for drop-offs. This will allow us to have a definitive idea about the number of students on a bus. Please note that we will not be able to make last-minute changes in the afternoon for changing buses. Temperature checks, health assurances at home that we've discussed, the first line of defense before students come to school. Review those COVID-19 symptoms at home that are prevalently out there and we have posted. Again, our buses will be disinfected after each bus run with special attention to frequently touched areas. And due to limited capacity on the buses, family will be limited to the drop-off spots. And the reason being, if we have a bus that has 20 or 22 students on it, and as far as making changes throughout the day for different drop-offs, it could increase the number of students on the bus. So we really need a set schedule for our students' drop-offs. All students and adults must wear a mask at all times on a school bus. This follows the mandatory guidelines. The results of the survey showed that many parents will be able to transport their children to school. So due to the state restrictions, all students and employees will be required to wear a mask on a bus. If a student doesn't have one, then the driver or bus attendant will provide a mask for the student. In order to properly maintain social distancing, we will have a reduced capacity on our school buses, and as mentioned in the surveys, many people said that they would be able to transport their students. Symptomatic, if your child is presenting any unexplained symptoms, please keep them at home. Child nutrition, meals will be provided to our students. When students are scheduled to be in school, eligible, free, and reduced participants will receive the next day's meal to go home with them. Other students can purchase their meals. In the spring, anyone that lived in the home under 18 was provided a meal if you decided that you wanted us to deliver them. As you know, many of you were so grateful and thankful for our drivers and for our cafeteria staff for the awesome job that they pulled out for those several months, packaging breakfast and lunch, thousands of them between March and June. They worked very hard. We appreciate them, and I know you appreciated them because you thanked them and you made signs for them and pictures for them, and so we appreciate that very much. So it's changed since the spring in regards to the guidelines. So free and reduced lunch students, of course, who are eligible would have their meals for the next day, and of course those students who purchase their meals will also be able to do that. Hybrid learners, families can choose to take the meal home from the cafeteria for the remote learning day. So when students are here on Monday, they can take their meal home for Tuesday when they're on their remote day. And the remote learners, families choosing to join the meal program will need to pick up meals at the school closest to them. And if you have any questions in regard to child nutrition and our cafeteria meal program, you can call the cafeteria manager. In regards to digital equity and access, having a strong internet connection has been an issue for some families. The district has purchased hotspots for those students who may need them. Parents will need to contact the school building where their child attends for detailed information. In our second interview, we tried to drill down a little bit deeper in regards to connectivity and the internet, and so that's why that second one went out about internet and connectivity and if a hotspot would work for you. And so we believe that over 100 to 150 families will benefit from hotspots. So as we get closer to the school year, you would be able to call the school building that your child attends and discuss with them about the possibility of a hotspot working for your home so your children can connect. Internet access and hotspots to enable students' success with remote learning. As mentioned, we've purchased the hotspots. And they'll be available for those families who have unreliable internet. For hybrid and remote students without consistent and reliable internet and live in an area where a hotspot will not work, the district will provide an alternate means to ensure that students have necessary materials such as Chromebook storage and or USB drives. In regards to teaching and learning, the district will utilize a combination of strategies to support remote learners their off days and the 100% virtual remote learners, included but not limited to daily check-ins and posting in Google Classroom, recorded instructional videos with accompanying assignments, live video instruction, communication with students via email or phone calls. In the guidance documents, it states, we provide a program that includes regular interaction between teachers and students regardless of the instructional model. So there'll be some inflexibility with the instructional model with the teachers and their students and at home. And that the teachers will provide that information to our students and our families. Our career and tech students will attend their program every day. So that is at the Glenfield site. So career technology education students, those students who are in 11th and 12th grade who go to the BOCES program in Glenfield will attend 5 days a week. Students with disabilities, schedules will vary depending on programs and services, and I know the director has reached out to families in regards to addressing some of the questions that have been brought to our attention. So at this time, students will be on an alternating daily schedule. This will allow for social distancing in our classrooms. Group 1, last names from A through L, will start September 8th and will follow ACE Day. And Group 2, last names M through Z, start September 9th and will follow a BDF Day. So that has been the plan for the everyday instruction. Teaching and learning. Many of you responded in a survey about students' participation in additional classes out of their content area of ELA, math, science, and social studies. All students will receive instruction in the core content areas as well as art, music, library, physical education electives where appropriate. Fine Arts, the district realizes the importance of all instructional areas. We want to continue to offer students as many opportunities as safely possible while at school. Social distancing will be further emphasized in the areas of chorus, wind instruments, band, and physical education of 12 feet. That is the requirement. Staying active is a very important part of our everyday life. Students will be afforded the opportunity to participate in these activities while social distancing is followed. And I know our teachers have been working very hard and diligently in coming up with activities to make sure that this can happen safely and the students can be engaged in these particular areas. So I know that they have a lot of plans that they have been working on to make it happen. Continuing with teaching and learning, on a student's remote day, it is expected they'll log into their Google Classroom site. Attendance will be taken on a daily basis by logging into a class or completing assignment or meeting with a teacher at a scheduled time. So there'll be a variety of ways and how students' attendance will be noted. So if you're here on Monday and the teacher has work for you to do on Tuesday at home, you complete that work. Tuesday's work would be an example of attendance being completed for that day's work. Also checking in with the teacher via email, via your Google Classroom, or phone calls. So that is the way that we'll keep track of that. Grading, as school reopens this fall, the district will move to a more traditional grading model. This will remain in effect even if the district is required to go to remote learning for any period of time. So when we were thrown into this in March on the 16th, in this whirlwind that we've been living through, we had a modified grading system, and we tried to work through that. And so as we approach the new school year in September, we're going back to more of a traditional grading with our students. Remote learning, a learning activity will occur every day, whether it's a Google Meet or other apps such as IXL, a learning website for pre-K-12, Nearpod, where there's interactive lessons, and ExactPath, which is an academic growth goals for K-12 students. And it combines adaptive diagnostic assessments with individualized learning pathways to promote growth for K-12 students in math, reading, and language arts. Here's an example of what the schedule looks like. So those students who begin school on September 8th would be A through L, and then on Tuesday the 9th would be the remote day, and students M through Z would attend. Now specific schedules would be provided by the teachers. So I would say for secondary, in the spring it wasn't as scheduled or consistent. So students in 612 would be following their schedule. And so if you had ELA first period and your teacher was going to do a Google Meet or Zoom or some activity, then they would let the student know. So there will be flexibility because we know at home students are going to have responsibilities, children are going to be at babysitters, they may not be connected at the same time. So there has to be flexibility in the schedule and when the students are completing the work. So when teachers are doing a Google Meet at 9 o'clock in the morning and a particular student cannot attend for various reasons, as long as that work is done within the time specified for the teacher, that would be acceptable. But by all means, when the teacher is doing a streaming or an activity where the student at home can be engaged, then that is what we would like. But there will be flexibility in how that happens, and that will come from the teachers. Social and emotional, one of the important things about transitioning back to school is a social and emotional aspect. And we know it's very important, and we're going to put a high priority on this from day one. We'll spend time reconnecting with our students and staff. We've been away from each other for several months and need to reconnect with our students. Our students need to reconnect with one another. So a great emphasis will be spent on our social and emotional needs and reconnecting with one another in the world in which we live presently. Social and emotional support, in addition to education, safety, and well-being of our students and staff, we'll focus on this throughout the school year. Counseling, we know this is a difficult time for our students, and our counselors are available. So if you would like your children to see a counselor, they're available in every building, and our counselors see our students. Some are scheduled, and some they see on a daily basis. Some they may see once a week, and sometimes they may see someone once a month. So our counselors are here, and they're here to support your children. And making connections and reaching out, our counselors will have surveys for our students and staff during the school year to get a pulse on how everyone is doing. They'll also visit the classrooms. In regards to athletics and extracurricular activities, at this time we don't have a definitive answer about whether there will be sports in the fall. In regards to extracurricular activities, we would like to offer our students as many opportunities as possible, but it will look a little different. We are thinking of some inventive ways whereby students can come together, even if virtual, to connect with one another. So in regards to athletics, per state guidelines at this point, they are not permitted. Interscholastic sports have been delayed until September 21st. Additional information will be provided when it becomes available. So as soon as we know, we'll pass that information along to you. In regards to extracurricular activities, we're looking at ways to provide opportunities. As I mentioned, students need to stay reconnected and engaged in their various interests as it relates to school organizations, so we're looking at ways that this can happen. We've reached out to the extracurricular advisors for them to come up with ways to see how students might be able to engage in this virtual world, because we think it's important that they continue to participate as best they can in extracurricular activities. And so if we can come up with ways where we can stay connected, even if it's virtually, in some of the organizations that we have at our school, then we think that is good, and it also supports the social and emotional well-being of our students. In regard to communication, you hear my voice many times in the winter on our robocall for school messenger. So you get used to that 5:30 a.m. call. So we use that service. Our Parent Square, which maybe some of you have heard about, we're trying to get that information out as we work with the vendor, is a new communication app rolling out this year for ACS families. More information to follow in the next couple weeks. So as we get that together, that'll be an awesome tool for communication between home and school. So we look forward to that. Our ACS website, which we post a great deal of information on that. Our social media, Facebook and Twitter pages, and email specific questions about reopening that we've had up for a couple weeks at ACS Reopening at adirondackcsd.org. Next steps. Parents expect a letter arriving soon that will indicate more information about your child's anticipated fall schedule and group. Families will need to make their choice to attend a hybrid model or remote or homeschool. At that time, families who choose hybrid or remote will notify the district if they need a home hotspot. Again, mentioned Parent Square, the communication tool that we'll be rolling out, and our community forums listed there. And again, you can email questions. I have questions for this afternoon I had questions for this evening. You can email your questions, continue to email them right up through the next few weeks. So don't think if you weren't able to get your question in, you can do that. We're not shutting that down. That will stay up, that website. Also, our email address. Also, when you do send in a question, as I mentioned at the beginning, we send a response back within a day. Usually that's what's been happening. So it's worked out very well. So there's been a lot of great questions, a lot of the same kind of theme questions. Some of the questions that we received, I was able to answer within this presentation here. So continue to send those questions, and we'll continue to respond to those questions. Some may be building specific. So when we get those emails, if it's building specific, we send it to that particular area. If it's department specific, we send it to that particular department. So when the emails come in, then we sort where it may go if it's to a particular building or department or area. And again, if you have any questions, please email us. In addition, you can contact the main office of your child's building where your child attends. All right, so what I wanted to do now is, first of all, I'm giving the overview at the forum. So this afternoon at 2, and then 6, and then on Tuesday at 10, I will give a reopening overview. A more detailed overview, of course, is on our opening plan on the district website, and then additional information that we put up this afternoon that I mentioned earlier. Also, the commitment form that was sent out, as I mentioned early, really drills down to more specifics. In our last survey, we had over 800 responses from our families and their children attending school, their mode of learning, transportation. So what we really want to do is kind of like finalize, so we really have a definitive answer, and we have the numbers in regards to what was asked in the commitment form. So if that could be please filled out by August 18th, fill one out for each one of your children, and that'll give us a great idea in regards to students' attendance and transportation. And I think there's also a hotspot question that was on there. So if you could fill that out for us by the 18th, that would be great. And as I mentioned earlier, when it went out this afternoon, when I had my message go out, some people, the link for some reason didn't click on, but then we put it on the website and Facebook. So, just a side note here, 6th grade orientation will be August 19th from 8 to 3. New students will be August 26th from 9 to 11. Students will be receiving their Chromebooks at that time for that 6th grade orientation and for new students. And 9th grade orientation will be August 25th from 5 to 7, where students will also receive their Chromebooks. So that information will be pushed out from the middle school and high school offices. Some of the questions that we have that I'm going through that I have here, and again, if you had submitted a question, I'd say even by noon today, I hope it was answered. I think that was where we were working on. So up until noon, anyone who submitted a question, you should have received a response. This afternoon, probably from 1 on, you may have not received a response yet. So what I am going to go over this evening are questions that people submitted. Some are common theme questions. I'll provide the answers. So probably a lot of your questions that you may have are similar to some that were submitted. And again, please remember, if you didn't submit your question, you can still submit those questions. Continue to submit them if you have a question. So here's some of the questions that we received, and so hopefully maybe they'll answer some of the questions that you may have. How many days will they be attending school? And I covered that in my opening. Students will be attending every other day. In regards to attending 5 days a week, we're looking at a phased-in approach maybe for elementary, but with social distancing and staffing and available space, at first the plan is to come every other day. Are we looking at some potential avenues as we phase in approaches? Yes, we always have our eyes open and ears, and we're listening, and we will continue to do that, but we would like our students back safely, and we will continue to look at avenues in order to do that. How long will the plan be to keep students every other day or virtual learning? Like I said, we'll continue to look at that. We are looking at ways as a phase-in approach for particularly elementary students. It's kind of difficult, especially for our primary grades, for those students, as you know, to connect to the internet and really have that one-to-one attention with their teacher. So I think it's really important to look at our primary grades and see what we can do there. In regards to BOCES, there were some questions about BOCES. Our students will be attending our Career Technical Education Center I mentioned earlier in the presentation, 5 days a week. More specific information in regards to BOCES is being finalized. So any individual who has 11th or 12th grader who attends that program, you will get updated information from the high school office, at the guidance office and the main office, as the details are continued to be worked out. But as it is right now, students in those programs will be attending 5 days a week. What are the plans for those in pre-K? Pre-K will be attending every other day. They'll work on that, as I said, the alphabet A through L and M through K. So pre-K is the same as the other students from K-12 will be attending every other day. Are you going to do virtual learning on the days that the little ones are not in the classroom? Resources will be provided for remote learning. They will not be streaming, and there will be work for our little ones to be doing. I know in the pre-K program that the teacher had posted videos and tried to interact with her pre-K students, but that will be solidified in the next few weeks in regards to that learning. But there will be work that will be home with the student on those days that they're not in school. If my daughter changes her mind and wants to do remote learning, can she? And how is pre-K going to work this year? We would like people to make a commitment in regards to their mode of learning for us, so we can properly plan. So whatever mode of learning, many of you in the second survey mentioned how you would like to proceed. But like I said, the commitment form that went out this afternoon, we really would like to solidify what the choices are for people returning to school. And again, how the pre-K program is going to work, I mentioned every other day, the hybrid model, and the alphabet split. The principal, there might be have to be a little change depending on how with pre-K, they'll look at the numbers and the alphabet, and so those will be personal phone calls to individuals in regards to that. But it's every other day. When will we find out about our children, or when will we find out who our children have for teachers? For elementary, schedules are being finalized, and next week, after the results of the survey that are due on Tuesday, or the commitment form that's due on Tuesday, which really solidifies the things that are mentioned in there in regards to modes of learning, hotspots, we'll have a better idea of that. But our plan is, hopefully by the end of next week, we'll have a better idea of the students who will be in school. In regards to the cleanliness of our buildings and what we're going to do, I outlined earlier in my presentation of the overview. So again, lots of safety measures would be in place. If you have specific concerns about your child, then please contact the building principal and the school nurse to express those concerns in regards to personal protective equipment, face mask, and other things that you may need or maybe would be beneficial to your child. So that would be a conversation with the principal and with the school nurse in regards to your particular child. If we choose to keep our children home and do homeschool, where the parent is responsible for teaching, will we have to file a homeschool plan for the district? So if you plan on homeschooling your child, paperwork is available in the district office that you need to fill out and complete. So you'd request that information from the district office. So if you were going to homeschool your child, the paperwork needs to be filled out, and that paperwork can be requested from the district office. Questions relating to our CSE office and our students with disabilities. Some of those questions that have come in, we have responded to. Like I shouldn't say some. Any questions that have come in will be responded to and have been responded to. So that's more like on an individual basis with our students with disabilities and the programs that they are in. So the CSE department has made personal contacts with those families and will continue to do so. When it's time for school to start, is it an option to stay home or do virtual at all times in school? So parents, on that commitment form that you received this afternoon, you can see what the options are and choices. And if you have specific questions, again, please call your child's building administrator to really clarify anything you may have, or continue to send the questions in the email address that I shared previously. Drop off and pick up. Yes, there'll be a detailed plan for the each building, because each building is a little bit different in regards to drop off and pick up. We're currently looking at alternatives for multiple points of entry when students enter the building. Library, will a rack of books be brought to the classroom for the children to choose? Our library will be reinvented to give students the ability to get books. We have thousands of books. And if students take books out, then there will be a wait period before other students take those books out. So we will not have them come in and out, and so there'll be a little wait period for that. Breakfast and lunch, will this be done in classroom? Can a student bring lunches in? Students are allowed to bring their lunches in, absolutely. That will not change. If remote learn only, will class schedule be given on Monday for the whole week? The remote schedule will be given in advance to assist the student and parent. So that will be worked out between the teacher, the parent, and the student in regards to scheduling. And like I mentioned earlier, one of the things that we need to fix and focus on is, especially the 6-12 schedule, is if you have English 9 first period, you know that you are remotely connected to English 9 when the teacher has a class that's online. So we don't want the science teacher to have it at the same time. So the students will have their daily schedule, and the teacher will let the students know when they will be doing a live stream, or when they will be doing a Google Meet, when they'll be requested to do a video conference or watch a video. So that will all be discussed with the teacher and the student when school opens. So again, we're going to be flexible because we know there's needs at home that will not necessarily meet. We're going to meet at 9 o'clock, and unfortunately the student at home has other responsibilities, or is not at home, or is at the babysitter's and there's no internet connection. So we know there has to be flexibility in what we are doing. Regarding the AF calendar, we'll start with an AF schedule, so half the students will be ACE and the other half will be BDF. Will it be a hybrid model where students go to school certain days? And we've mentioned that we will be a hybrid model where they go every other day. If they can attend, what will be the requirements? Testing, mask, distancing in class, eating lunch, and recess. Each child will need to have their temperature taken prior to leaving home, and a short assurance questionnaire. They will be required to wear a mask anytime they cannot social distance. Presently, the classroom are set up to social distance while in class, so they will not be required to wear a mask all the time if they can socially distance. When in the hall, for example, they're required a mask, or the bathroom on a school bus, but there will be times where the students, if they can properly social distance of 6 feet or more, that there would be mask breaks where they would not have to wear them all day. Will they go 3 days one week and then 2 days the next week? That is true, the ACE BDF days. What will policy be about logging in on days at home if parents are working and children are at daycare? And that's where I mentioned that there has to be flexibility at home and at school, and we know that. So that's something that'll have to be worked out with that individual teacher and the parent and student. That there has to be flexibility. How will we find out if we are able to use a hotspot provided by the school for those parents that have poor or no internet reception? The district has purchased hotspots, so hopefully in the responses that we receive from the surveys, that we know, according to that survey, the second one, that, like I said, over 100 families, to up to 150 families could benefit from a hotspot. So we're hoping that that will alleviate some of the problems that we faced in the spring where there was no internet connection. And unfortunately, we're hoping that that comes to our rural areas. There's supposed to be funds that are supposed to be doing that, federally funds, state funds, hopefully county funds, that gets everyone up to technology advances. Okay. When is school opening? Is it going to be hybrid? If so, how many days a week? How many students how many days my students will be coming? So yes, we've covered that in regards to a hybrid model. Students will be coming every other day. Again, asking about wearing a face mask. If so, how many hours a day while they're in school? If they can maintain social distance, then students will have face mask breaks. Can they socialize with their friends? Are they going to be in cubbies? Are they going to eat lunch? The recommendation is that they limit the use of any cubbies or lockers. So obviously that's an area where you'd be close congregation. So that would be limited, where they could use cubbies or their lockers. Are you going to perform the COVID-19 test? No, the school district is not going to provide the COVID-19 test. There's a protocol that takes place. And as I mentioned earlier, on our website that we posted this afternoon is information in regards to COVID testing, the sites that are available, so you can check that out. It's a detailed form. I think it's about 12 pages of information. And then we also have a remote learning information update. So that's also been posted on the website this afternoon. But very well detailed and explained and lengthy. So it goes really step by step. So no, the school district does not perform COVID-19 testing. We had some questions asked about students attending art and music and physical education. And I mentioned earlier that yes, students will be able to participate in those classes. And also recess at elementary, yes, we have not eliminated recess. Again, I know it's not normal, but we want to try to provide a day for our students that would be somewhat like their schedule would be if we were under normal circumstances. And we want to provide the students with as many opportunities as we can during the school day while maintaining social distance and being safe. So they will have those opportunities. Again, another question in regards to, we have internet, but the service is horrible. I'm not sure hotspot will work and be any better for our internet. Again, we'll work with those families in regards to different modes, whether it's putting storage on their Chromebook or using a USB drive to help those families. Also, we do have hotspots at our school districts and our parking lots. We'll look at other avenues in regards to community-based organizations where internet is available. So we'll have those resources out, whether it's a library or another organization where internet connectivity can happen. Is it possible for multiple kids in one household to choose a different learning experience? So they would have that option to do so. So that is up to the parents on the choice in regards to the mode of learning. Are you going to treat every cold symptom as COVID? The answer to that is no. They will be they will be assessed by the nurse. So one of the questions is a student who has allergies or asthma. Our school nurses are outstanding. They know their students, and so they need to have that communication between parent and school. Okay, so our nurses know our students, and so the question is, my daughter has allergies. She has a runny nose and she has watery eyes. Our school nurses know. So that communication between parent and home, parent and school, will be very important. and the nurses will do assessment on that particular student. So they know some of the students, obviously, that they have and the symptoms or allergies that they have. So there will be an assessment that will be done for our students. A question, what is a school day going to look like for all grades? And I've kind of alluded to the every other day following their schedule. Is there going to be recess for elementary? And I've touched upon that. We will make, students parents make a decision in regards to the hybrid model or remote model for their children is up to them. The school day will be different depending on the grade level. So like I said earlier, the flexibility with our students and their teachers in the mode of instruction. Okay, are we going to get something in the mail or anything we can choose what learning we want to do? That was sent out this afternoon, so that was discussed. So we have that one. How do we get a hotspot? So as mentioned earlier, you'll have to contact your child's building and talk with the office there. Again, we had a question, are you going to treat every cold symptom as COVID? And so that would be an assessment by the school nurse. What are the quarantine protocols for anyone who has symptoms or tests positive? Is the whole school going to shut down? Again, that information is detailed on our website in regards to the protocol. We need to follow the Department of Health and the CDC protocols of what happens, and very detailed information is posted on our website. So if you take a look at that, you'll see it explained as far as the steps that happen. Are there going to be school sports? That was mentioned in the PowerPoint slideshow. Right now it's up till September 21st. Decision will be made, but I'm assuming it'll be made before then. If we have to social distance 12 feet in chorus and physical education and wind instruments and band, I don't see how it can happen, because I don't know. If we have to social distance 12 feet in physical education, I don't know how that falls into sports, but that information will be coming soon. It was stated that school will be providing masks. Are the students allowed to bring their own? If so, are there specific types required? Students can bring their own masks to school if they have them. They need to fit over the mouth and nose, and they need to make sure that they fit appropriately, and they need to be school appropriate. But by all means, students would be able to have their own mask if they so choose. As mentioned earlier, the district is providing each student with 2 washable masks, and we're also providing for our staff. And if students need additional face masks, they will be available. And if they forget it, we also have the other masks that are school specific. So our masks have a logo, I believe, for our students, so it's kind of personalized. But we also have other masks if students forget, lose, we will have them available. Whether it's in the classroom or on the school bus, they will be available. What is the protocol should my child get sick or exhibit symptoms? They would be at the office or at the nurse's office, and the parent would be called. We do not do, like I said, the COVID-19 testing or anything like that. And then the nurse would follow up with the parent in regards to the child. So the child goes to the nurse's office, and then depending on the symptoms, the nurse calls the parent, and that's how that would work. If a student is tested positive or exhibits symptoms, would a lockdown be enforced? If a lockdown is initiated, how do we get our children from lockdown? No, we would know that right away. If a student is exhibiting signs, they go to the nurse's office, and there is an isolation area also. Then we would follow Department of Health guidelines. Can you explain what letter days the kids will be attending school in person? And so right now, as I mentioned earlier, ACE, BDF, A through L, and M through Z on alternating days. Also, the orientation for new 7th graders I mentioned earlier in the presentation. That was also mentioned in the beginning. So I think that a lot of the questions related around safety, when school would start, what the day would look like. So those were a lot of the questions that were sent in and we responded to. Continue to send in your questions, and we'll continue to respond to those questions. We will have another forum on Tuesday, August 18th at 10 a.m. in the morning. We tried to do some different times just because of schedules. So we had one at 2, one at 6, and one at 10 on Tuesday. But again, you send in your questions into that email address, and we will respond within the day to specifically answer your questions. So this evening, if you send in questions and they were not answered, then they may be in the email if it was sent after this afternoon before this presentation. So you will get a response to those. And then what I will do on Tuesday, any new questions that come in will be discussed on Tuesday the 18th. But before that, parents would have received their personal response. But I want to share questions with everyone because maybe it's a question you have and you didn't send in an email, and it will answer. It will also reaffirm some of the things that we are doing. So we want to continue to do that. So if you didn't have your answer question, maybe it came in this afternoon, or more specific. Like I said, some areas we are sending that question to that particular department, and you'll get a phone call or an email from that department or from that school. So some are school specific, and so that principal or supervisor, department leader will be calling and following up with an email. So I want to thank you very much for attending this evening. Last night, like I said, we presented the plan, and it's posted, and we will be again on Tuesday, August 18th at 10 a.m. Thank you for your questions. If your specific question, like I said, was not answered, or you have a follow-up question, please email us at acs reopening@adirondack.csd. As I mentioned, I sent out a school messenger earlier today, and it was about the commitment form. So please fill that out by August 18th, letting us know your decision on returning to school. Your child's returning to school. We appreciate it very much. I want to thank you for your comments and for your emails in regards to questions. We appreciate your support and understanding during these challenging times. We would love to see our students and somehow get back to some sort of normalcy if possible. We'll continue to look at our plan, update our plan. We know that there are changes. It seems like, whether it's daily or weekly, something new is coming out. We will stay on top of that. We'll provide that information to our parents. Many times you find something out in the newspaper or on television. You're finding it out when we are. We really don't have a heads up on anything that comes down from the state. You're pretty much finding out when we do. So it isn't like we have the information and we're not telling. You hear it on the radio or television or reading in the newspaper when probably we're getting the information then. But whatever information we do have, we'll get out to you and continue to update our website and Facebook page where we'll see information about that. Again, thank you very much for sending in your questions. Continue to do that. I appreciate all of your support and commitment, and I think working together we can have a safe reopening to our school year. We'll have a more definitive picture when people finish the commitment forms next Tuesday. In the meantime, if you have questions between now and then, please send them in to the email address and or call your child's building main office and speak with the secretarial staff there and the and building administrator. So thank you very much for your time this evening. Stay well, and I hope you've been able to enjoy a little bit of the summer out there. We've had some awesome weather, but we really can't do or go many places. But at least the weather has been kind of cooperative, but unfortunately our activities have been limited. So I hope you're making the best of it and are able to spend some time with your family, friends, and loved ones. Thank you very much this evening, and have a great night.